calling the Tanya TKO show. You're live on the air.
Hello.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I was just calling because I have a question. So he and I have been friends for a while. We really started being friends when we first started college. And the only reason I think this is an issue is because of the opinion that he's told me that he's had in this, like the issue that I'm about to talk about. So basically his issue is we were talking about his opinion of women. And he's an African-American male. He's my age. And he was expressing how the school that he went to, the girls that he was surrounded by, they didn't like him, or he's apparently had negative run-ins with women. And then his relationship with his mom is one of those where he's, like, really close to them in a way that I guess they can be a little overbearing in a certain type of way.
Okay.
And so he's expressed to me that I guess he feels kind of pushed away from females, but at the same time, he also has an issue with speaking up for himself. So I feel like it's kind of a masculinity issue, but this is just my take on it based on what he said me. And so, so he's been saying that the reason that he is believing that he's just gonna just start looking into men, and the only reason I even think this is an issue is just because, he's gonna start like looking at men as the reason.
I can't do it anymore. What?
I know. So he's like, because I feel like my opinion on the general topic of like sexuality is basically that it's dual, but the reason that my personal opinion, we should do the opposite is because I feel like every animal on this planet, they can multiply. We're the only ones who want to look only into our own opinions and justify why we're living how we're living, and that's okay. But if it does things like literally destroy your body, which I feel is a part that's ignored in this topic, especially if you start based on like things like my friend, a complex, I don't think that is the way that it should be. And I don't want to tell him, you can't do that, but I don't know if he understands, like, that the reason that it seems like he's going into this is because he thinks that women hate them and because he has developed a complex. And so I would like to help him, but I'm not even sure how I should get involved with this topic. Like, if I should and how I should go into it, because at the school I go to, everyone's like, oh, it's okay, just do what you want, have sex with everybody, it doesn't really matter, it's all about your happiness. And I'm like, okay, happiness, but when I hear stories about literally people 40 years old, they have this lifetime of homosexuality, and they have a lot of friends who get sick and die, and that's reality. I just can't believe that that's actually advocated.
Okay. You know what? I hear you, my sweet young sister. I hear you. I laugh because this young man is not telling you the truth. He is not telling you the truth. Maybe he doesn't even know the truth himself. That man is not going to switch over into dating men because of what his mother did or how some girls didn't think he was cute. That man is going to switch over to men because he is attracted to men, because there's something about men that sparks a part of his being and arouses him, and he wants a piece of that. He's not doing this because anybody turned him away from women or vagina or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with that man, besides the fact that he's in denial about why he's making his dating choices. Let me ask you a question, and you have to really open up your mind and think about this. If you think about what life is like for a person who has homosexual tendencies in a world where most people are heterosexual. This person grows up seeing, much like when you were a little girl and you looked on TV and you saw all of the sophisticated people were white, and all of the people in the news with their crazy looking mugshots and horrid looking faces were all black, when you saw all of the superheroes were white, no one had to tell you white people were sophisticated and white people were superheroes. You just automatically gathered this from looking at TV and the things that were pumped into your mind and psyche. So, for a person who is homosexual growing up in a heterosexual world, you see a lot of different inferences that say that men and women are supposed to be together, that that's the way that it's supposed to be, that's how you're supposed to feel. So, and then also, you hear these comments, people saying nasty, negative things about homosexuals, etc. And then there's a part of you that's like, wow, well, I shouldn't feel that way, I should feel this other way. But, it's like if you, and listen, I don't really know much about it. I haven't done all my homosexual research. But I'm sure if you can imagine when you were a girl and you were intrigued by another person, by another little person, how you would feel if you felt that liking that person was wrong. What if you felt liking little boys was wrong? Would you be able to change that?
I don't know. I think I've actually done some research because this topic has been so big at my school and with him.
I asked you a
I feel
question,
like,
Tiffany. I want you to answer the question. When you were a child and you liked boys, would it have been possible for you to change the attraction that you had for boys, you as a person? Not because I don't know where you
no,
gathered your research from, but I'm asking you as a human being, would you have been able to change your attraction for boys?
no, I feel
Okay,
like
then this is
attraction,
something
yeah.
this is something that is interwoven into who it is that you are as a being. Let me just let's look. Let's put all laughter aside and let's talk for a moment, okay? These physical bodies that we have are temporary. They are not permanent. And a lot of the things that you think are real are not real. And a lot of the things that you've been taught in religion about God being a man and all this other stuff may not be the truth. First of all, God having human characteristics should strike something in your mind about maybe there might be something the matter with God taking on human characteristics. If God is the one who made man, why is it that God is in our image? Why is it that God supposedly has hands? And in order for God to be male, God would have to have male sex genes. In order for him to have male sex genes or sex cells, God would need to have testicles. If God had testicles, God would need to ejaculate. There's no reason for God to ejaculate because God does not have a penis. God does not have testicles. God does not have or need sex cells. God is sexless. So anybody who's ever taught you that God is male and all this other stuff is teaching you stuff that human beings and humans' own ego has created God in the likeness of man with hair and eyes and happen to look very much like a human being. So that's number one. So if God has no gender because God has no human body, then how is it that our spirits can have genders? How is it that our spirits, listen, what it is that you see on the outside of a person is only that physical manifestation of that person on the outside, what you are seeing here in this lifetime. We all have masculine and feminine energy, and how we chose to incarnate in this life, it creates the depiction of what it is that people see our genders to be. But the soul has no gender. The soul does not have a penis. It does not have a vagina. So if there's a person who is physically attracted to another person's energy or another person's physical characteristics, we don't know what this person was in many, many, many other lifetimes or what their job is here on this planet. And if you want to talk about people becoming sick, there have been many, many, many advances that have been done in the world of HIV so that people with HIV are living a lot longer. They have things that are suppressing the I can't even think of the word, but they're suppressing the things that show up in the bloodstream that would depict that this person even has HIV. So, and I know a person who has HIV right now, and and you would be really surprised. They're saying that HIV is like the new diabetes because you can live so much longer with it. It's just like having another type of ailment. So people are living a lot longer. People are thriving, and it's not the same. It's not the death sentence that it was back in the 80s. But I really need you to just take some time. And I say this to people a lot. I don't know how long you've been watching my videos. You said you just came upon me during a search. But any moment that,
Oh,
I'm sorry?
I think it was last summer that I came upon
Oh,
it.
last
So I've
summer.
been watching you
Okay.
for a while.
Okay, so then you have heard me say this before. Any moment that you spend looking outward at other people, trying to figure them out, is a moment that you've lost looking inward, trying to figure yourself out. This help that you're trying to get for this young man did not beseech you for your help. You're trying to figure out who he is. That man has a soul journey that he needs to go on for himself. One of the assignments that he's been given inside this life is that he came into the existence of being a homosexual or having some sort of issues with his own sexuality, so that he's making up all these excuses for himself and other people. That is neither here nor there. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on Tiffany. I want you to focus on, why is Tiffany here on this earth? What is Tiffany's life calling? What is it that your soul came here to work on? What are your patterns? What are the things that you came into this life to express? To work on, to better, to change. So you have to really look at yourself. All of these other people, you have to let them work on what it is that they are going to do in their life, and you have to work on you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So in terms of
Well, I
this,
think.
yeah, in terms of this man and his sexuality, Tiffany, let him figure
Mhm.
that out. Let him figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I guess the only reason I even had that question was just because I've been afraid for him, just because of the things that I've heard and seen with other people living like that. So I was just like, I don't even know if I should speak on this because that's his personal choice, and he said it was a choice. So I'm like, okay, I was just worried. So I was wondering if I should even be involved in this, because I have asked myself questions, and that's how I arrived at the conclusion that I feel like when it comes to sexuality, it isn't one or the other. For like some people, I feel like there's a spectrum, and a lot of us fall on one part of the spectrum. But I think, like for him, I guess I shouldn't give any advice. I was just concerned,
Did
so
he
I was
did he
wondering.
come did he come to you and say, Tiffany, I really need some advice on my sexuality. Can you help me? Did he come to you asking that?
No, it was just
No, he
on a
did not.
topic.
You know what? We have a little bit of time left here on the phone, and I'm not going to let you waste this phone call. I want you to ask me a question that you need to know about yourself. You're on the phone with me right now. And I don't know how long I'm going to be doing these advice hours. And while you got me on the phone, I want you to ask me a question about you. Something that you're working on. That's why I'm here. When that young man is ready to ask me some questions, you tell that young man to call me. But you're on the phone with me right now, and I want to hear what you have to ask me.
Well, I guess advice on speaking up, because I do feel like whatever my purpose is, the only reason I would even be talking to him is because I feel like my purpose is to just speak to other people or just say things that are truth. So I don't know, just figure out how to get confidence to just speak my truth, because I have an issue with just speaking straight for myself without being nervous or worrying about everyone else, because I feel like that's my purpose. But it's hard for me to do that when I feel like a lot of things around me are, of course, not going to really accept it if I'm just saying the straight up truth, because no one really likes to hear that. So,
And that's ego. That's your
hmm
ego, honey. What it is that you think that you know is not truth. Not yet, honey. Not yet. So there's a part of me that feels like it's a good thing that maybe you don't have the confidence to speak up yet. Maybe there's a part of your being that's telling you maybe you need to keep a little bit of that inside until you actually have a better grip on what it is that you that you know or think that you know. I read this quote and I posted it on my Facebook page. It said, "Trust those who say they are seeking the truth, but be leery of those who said they found it."
I've heard that quote too. That's why I've called in today, because I definitely don't think I have the answers. That's why I try to do so much reading or talking to people. But I'm still figuring out everything. That's why I just wanted to kind of understand what I need to do in any type of situation.
Well, you know what? And this is one thing that I would say because there's a book called Conversations with God. I would suggest you pick up that book, and I would suggest that you read that book. Read book 1, read book 2, and read book 3. Book 2 is going to talk about some of the societal issues that you called in with the first time. Book 1 is going to talk about some of the issues that you're having with your friend, and some of your opinions about what it is that he is doing with his life. And I'm going to tell you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep seeking the truth. And let me ask you a question, right? I want you to really please take a few moments with me here today, right? And I want you to really feel inside your being, right? Not what it is that you were taught in the church, or do you go to church?
Yes, on and off.
Okay, not the things that you were taught in the church, but things that actually really resonate in your being. Do you, in your being as a human being, feel that there's something wrong with that man choosing to love another consenting adult who chooses to love him back?
No.
So, in your being, you do not feel that there's something wrong with that?
No, in my being, I wouldn't feel that there's anything wrong with the love. I think the only thing that I really am having an issue with is the fact that the complex part about women, of course, like the way that he thinks about women now hasn't healed. Like, I wonder if that opinion on women was healed, would he be the same way? And if he
You
was,
know,
okay, but I just...
you know what? Let me tell you something, honey. You cannot heal anybody else. Doctors cannot heal anybody else. People who raise the vibration from the core of the earth and lay hands on other people cannot heal anybody else. The only thing that you can do is create the environment in which other people can heal themselves. So what I want you to do is I want you to continue to search for truth within yourself, because there is nobody else but you. There's no one else but you. And when I say I want to find out, you're on the phone with me, I want to find out what it is that you have a question about. And again, your question to me was about other people and what other people may need, or how do you help other people, and that's ego. You wanting to help other people for the sake of them coming to the truth that you think that you know, that's ego. Take a few moments to do a lot of research until you find a way of living that you feel is closer to the truth than the one that you had before. And if you think that there's something wrong with this man loving anybody, if you think that there's anything wrong with this man having intercourse with whom it is that he chooses, who is consenting to have intercourse with him, then you have to take the time to get down back to what is closest to the truth. And the only truth that there is love. That's it. That's it. And so we have to figure out, why is it that Tiffany's entire existence is focusing around on other people? Remember, there's nobody else. Are you having a question about your sexuality?
No. he's just one of the closest friends that I have, and everyone else I've been able to talk to. Yeah, I guess that's just been on my mind just because he was my boyfriend before, and so the reason that we broke up was because he said he was questioning. And so when all of this came up, I was like, okay, that's fine. And then we had that conversation. I just wondered, like, is the reason that, like, I know this now because I should say something?
Well,
Or is it
listen, you're
something
right.
that's not
Let me ask you another question. Name another person that you'd like to help.
myself?
No, somebody else. I want you to talk about somebody else right now. Name another person that you said you'd like to help, that you haven't really been able to speak up to tell the truth to.
Um, right now, I don't think there really is anyone else because I talk to them more often than I talk to him. I talk to him
What
less.
you're saying is that there are people out there who didn't ask
Mhm.
for your opinion, and you went and offered your opinion anyway?
I
Huh?
mean, no.
Is that what you're
Usually,
saying, Tiffany?
no. I'm saying that because usually the way my life has been and the reason that I don't usually look at myself, like I help myself with a lot of internal things because I do have, like, I'm trying to get myself to be more confident and things like that. But when it comes to other people, it seems that usually in my life personally, people have always asked for my help. They've always been asking me and looking to me, and so I've gotten so used to that when they introduce a topic to me or we get on a topic, I tell them something and they usually appreciate it, and that's the only reason I've come to be this way.
Okay. Well, you know what? I would definitely take a few moments out. Go read that book that I told you about, Conversations with God, and take a few moments out to kind of fine tune your point of view. And when you really, 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 really get closer to the truth, you won't be telling other people what it is that they need to do. You won't, because you'll know that that person needs to look inward and find what they need to do inside of themselves. So let's talk about this young man right here, the young man that you say you used to date. And remember, I said there's nobody else out there except for you. You are the only person, and everybody is reflecting a truth to you about you. So in this situation, you need to figure out, what is it that is causing you this supreme amount of concern about this man's sexuality? Is it that, think about it, is it that there's a part of you that feels a certain way about him having left you? Is it a part of you that feels a certain way about knowing that you'll never get him back? You have to really search within yourself. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. When I typically do these calls, I typically tap into my intuition, but I don't want to invade your privacy and start telling people on the line what it is that I'm picking up from your own intuition about this young man.
Mhm. Well, I feel, because I've thought about that, I feel like because of the situation, but all the drama that happened within that, like just before our whole relationship was ridiculous. Just because I feel like everything that happened was mostly my fault. Because in the beginning, I feel like I already knew that like he wasn't completely sure of his sexuality, but I went in anyways just because I personally I felt like I kind of initiated it, and then it started, and then I don't know.
You feel like you initiated his homosexuality?
No, I initiated the relationship,
Okay.
and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then because I felt like I already knew that that was that he wasn't just a heterosexual, that he was either bisexual or gay. I already knew that from the beginning, but yeah. So then within the relationship, there was a thing where one of his friends that he had previously had a fling with, who was a male. When I found that out, I wasn't surprised. So when we broke up, and he used that as the reason, but really I felt that it was because I guess I was being like maybe too, not over, was it overbearing? Maybe just like a little too, trying to get too involved because I think he needed some more space. so then I always wondered, like, was it really the sexuality or was it me? And so then, like, even within that relationship, he would ask for my advice on things. And then when we talk, I give him advice or he'd give me advice. And so then in any given situation, I guess I'm always looking for what to speak about. Because
Yeah.
that's always how it's been with most people. I'm always looking for what to speak on. So I think that that's a general issue that's involved in this situation too. And he's just a person that I'm concerned about because I'm just afraid of, well, not a relationship. I just don't.
You know something? I'm gonna just pause you for just a moment. You know, there are a lot of people who call in and say a lot of different things to me, and I listen, right? But I
Yeah.
know, you know, there's a different there's typically I don't call people out because, like I said, I like to respect people's privacy. But you know, when my intuition is telling me something different, you know, sometimes I hold on to it. I don't know if you've heard any of the other advice hours, but I typically speak to people about the things that I know inside my being to be different than what it is, or to be along the lines, or things that they have not said. And I'm going to ask you a question because I'm not going to blow up your spot because I know some things that you're not saying. And I'm going to ask you to really look within yourself, and you don't have to answer this out loud, but look within yourself and ask yourself, is it really fear that has you asking and seeking these questions for him? Is that really fear? Or is it a different emotion that's coming from the inside of you about some things that had happened in your past that is now being projected onto this young man that now you are calling up about this situation that you claim you're fearful for his health? Are you really fearful? Is that the emotion?
I mean, of course, that's definitely not the only thing.
I want to
I
know,
feel like
tell
the only,
what is the major emotion? Tell me.
I guess I just wonder why, because it's such a huge topic these days. Like just gay in general is a huge topic. So him personally, since he's the one I know closest, I just wonder why, and I guess just trying to figure it out because it doesn't completely make sense to me. Like I understand people are like they're just loving certain people, and I'm like okay, but I'd like to hear him say why. I mean, I guess.
How's your self-worth, honey?
I mean, it's definitely not the highest. That's one thing I'm working on.
Okay.
I'm trying. Yeah, it's
And how did
in,
you
in development.
feel about yourself when he came to you and he said, you know what, I can't be in this relationship with you because I'm unsure about my sexuality? How did you feel about yourself?
Yeah, kind of made me, I guess, feel like maybe I wasn't enough.
Okay, let's get to the heart of the matter now. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So he came to you and he said, you know what, I think I might be really going in a different direction with my sexuality. And that made you feel like you were not enough. And so what happened after that?
And so he told me that he just needed a friend, and so I said, okay, I'll just be your friend. And then, I mean, there were some things in between there, but from then on, we tried to be just, just friends directly after.
You know, do you mind if I like I said, I don't want to invade your privacy, but do you mind if I tell you what my spirit is picking up on from you?
Sure.
Even though you sound perfectly lovely on the phone, I'm picking up anger from you towards him, that you feel this sort of resentment towards him. And the resentment that you have towards him is not really directed towards him, it's directed towards what it is that he represents. And you knowingly got into this situation, knowing that this man may not even really fully be able to be present for you in the way that you needed him to be present. But there was something about what you wanted to prove by entering into this relationship, and something that you wanted to close your eyes to something because you were hoping that it would have a different outcome. And when he turned around and said, you know what, I can't do this, you felt anger towards him, and you felt anger towards yourself for going into the situation that you set yourself up for. I want to know, where in your life has this pattern played itself out before? Because this is not the first time.
It probably started with my father.
Let's talk about it, because I'm not going to put you on blast, but let's talk about it.
It just, well, growing up, the divorce that my father and mother had when we went to custody with him, a lot of anger from the divorce was directed mainly at me, just because, like, he also had some issues with my mother, and apparently I was like her, and he had an older brother, and I don't know, but there was some other stuff in there, and so he acted that way. But when I decided that I would forgive him, and I tried to do everything that I could just to, like, make things as good as I possibly could, it usually didn't work. And I think that probably also played out in other relationships, even though they were when I was really young, where I put my all into something and it didn't work out, like in a relationship, just because I was the one trying to make something work that wasn't exactly what the other person wanted to work out.
Okay.
And so that, yeah.
All right. And that's exactly what I feel, honey. You know what I feel? I feel this cup, like a styrofoam cup with a hole in the bottom that will never be able to be filled up. That's what I feel. I feel this tremendous, tremendous emptiness inside of you, and an emptiness that you have filled with a lot of different emotions, so that that emotion has become solid and have become stagnant, and that you've piled a lot of different things on top of these solid, stagnant emotions. And you're going to have to do some clearing. You're going to have to do some clearing work, and you're going to have to forgive, truly, truly forgive your father and forgive yourself and the role that you think that you played in that relationship with your father. Your father was the adult in that situation, and it was not you. And on the surface, you tell yourself that it was not you. But deep inside your heart, there's something that feels like if you would have done things in a different way, that things would have turned out differently somehow. Am I correct in assuming that? Or surmising that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Can you wait 1 second, sorry? Because suddenly, yeah, I'm getting emotional.
Honey, I know, and I can feel it, and it's coming through to me too. I feel the sadness.
Well, basically, I think the biggest thing was, sorry, give me one more second.
It's quite all right, honey. I'll absorb some of it from you. Let me take some of that from you, okay? Go ahead, honey, go.
In my senior year, because of everything that happened, because of everything that has happened, I decided to be the first one to apologize for anything that I had done, but it wasn't fully acknowledged, and even though now we're kind of getting to a state, I still don't feel like certain things were answered, and he never said sorry, but I'm trying to do my best to forgive and get over them without that happening.
Right. Okay, so now we're down at the heart of the issue, and so this is what we need to focus in on. We need to focus in on, so it's not so much that you can't speak your truth to other people so that you can tell them what it is that you feel is truth in their life in terms of advice. The real heart of the issue is the situation that exists between your father and you, and your inability to be able to speak up and tell the truth in this relationship, where you feel that the truth is going to be not only just said, but that the truth is going to be heard, and that you'll be able to get what it is that you need from your father as a man, and as the first man who was ever supposed to love you. And I get the feeling from your spirit that you don't feel that your father will ever be the man that you need him to be.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
That's true.
Right. So, so one of your lessons in this life may be having and trying to figure out how to move on without the answers. Without the answers. I'm getting the feeling from your father's spirit that your father has a lot going on inside of him. A lot. And that it really doesn't have anything to do with you, but it has something to do with some women that came before you, even before your mother. That there's some stuff going on with your father and some things that he needs to work on. And until he clears those blocks inside of him, he will never be able to come out and do what it is that you need him to do as a man. So one of your lessons in this life may be having to figure out how to move on without the answers. How do you do that?
I don't know. I just have to do it. Or forgive myself. And
Well, you know what? One of the things that you can start doing is start working on start start working on on going back and really nurturing the inner child inside of you, and really start journaling. I'm sensing a lot of anger, right? I'm sensing a lot of anger that needs to be released in a healthy way, because this anger will create tumors inside of you. This anger will perforate your organs, honey. It'll create holes in you, literally. It'll give you ulcerations. I'm telling you that you really have to let go. Am I correct in surmising that there's a lot of anger inside of you still?
yeah.
Okay. So listen, honey, you have to work on releasing that anger, and you have to work on creating an environment in which you can forgive your father without taking from yourself. Not forgiving for his sake, because I have the feeling that when you forgave in the past, that it was not a real forgiving. It was like when you pull a chunk out of yourself, and to the detriment of yourself, you give to this other person, but that only increases and leaves the hole fuller inside of you. Because remember Jill Scott had that song, and she was like, if I gave you peaches off of my tree, you'd ask why weren't they sweet enough. So it's like you give this part from inside of you towards your father, and he slaps it away, and it's like, that's not good enough. And so you keep giving these pieces so that you're left broken and holy, because you're trying to forgive so that he will accept the forgiveness, so that things will be all good. But honey, you're going to have to find a way to forgive for you. And you're going to have to find a way to start doing that now. I have a feeling that your dad is really going through some other stuff, some past life stuff from many lives that are regenerating itself in this life. And he did not do the work that he was supposed to do. He's not supposed to be like this right now still. He didn't do the work. So he's still rolling around inside of this still. And this was one of the assignments that you picked up in this life. So Get yourself a journal. Comic towel inside the room says journaling is a good idea. Dump it all out. I'm getting the feeling that you need to take up kickboxing. I am. Have you ever done? Huh?
I'm taking a self-defense class next semester at school.
Perfect. Because I'm seeing a vision of you really kicking a like a punching bag, kicking that bag and really letting a lot of your frustrations out and letting a lot of that anger out of you. And I'm seeing that maybe you can go jogging, run and let some of that steam out and start addressing some of that issue. Remember, wherever pain lies, there's something underneath the pain that needs to be addressed. So pain is a good thing because it lets you know what needs to be addressed. So don't just go kick it all out and then not do the work. Okay? I want you to really dig inside of yourself. Go get a journal, do some visualization on the inner you, read that book, Conversations with God, and start healing some of that old stuff. Start healing some of that. Otherwise, because I don't want you to be like your father with this situation perpetuating itself over and over and over again in your life so that you have to come back in the next lifetime and work on this. Work on this now. Okay, honey?
Okay.
Was that helpful for you, my dear?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so what are you going to go do now, babe?
I was just write in my journal because I have one. I haven't been writing in it lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I can write in that on what is happening and what is happening and how I'm feeling. Because I don't do that very often.
Okay, and one more thing that I would suggest for you is I'm getting the vision that you need to go and do a meditation, and you really need to go and visit your father's younger self as a boy. And you need to hug him and send him some love and forgive the younger version of your father. Forgive the little boy. And you might even, maybe you all will be able to open up to a point where you can ask your father what was it that happened in his past that that created this animosity inside of him. But listen, it may not be safe to do that right now while you're still in a fragile state. So work on you. And when you get stronger, maybe one day you'll be able to go into that situation. But I still feel that there's a lot of pain there. And I want you to be able to strengthen yourself. Go visit your little father as a boy. Hug him. Send him some love and forgive the little boy in him. And then start cleansing your chakras. Start cleansing your chakras, meditate, write in your journal, do some physical exercise, do that, the martial art, run, and continue to strengthen yourself and grow and release. Start learning how to release. Like this situation with this young man and you're concerned about his sexuality, release that. Release that. And you know what? Go and apologize to him. Tell him that you're sorry, that you're working on some other things, but thank him. Thank him for being honest with you and apologize that you weren't really able to receive it then. And then release that. Release needing to know, because that's another pattern. Release needing to know why and all this other stuff. Release that and release the frustration and the anger and guilt that you feel towards yourself for going into that situation. Release that. Okay, my dear?
Okay.
All right, I love you. Send me hugs. Send me hugs through the phone. Hug me.
You too.
Okay, then. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Advice Hour with Tanya, media's #1 big sister.